very good. So
I'm the only one that went under, so I can add a whole
Do you want to give your time to somebody else?
I'll donate it to someone else, for sure.
all right, so
Questions? Don't.
I'm going to give you a few seconds just to get your mind straight on your questions. So the next side is going to be you can ask one question to at least one, two questions, but only ask one question to one candidate. And you give that candidate a maximum of about 2 minutes to answer that question. So please stay within the format of your answer. You can't tell us all about everything else again. So just answer the question if you are asked a question. So Colleen, who would you like to ask a question, your first question to?
Well, this is different, so I appreciate it. Chris, my first question would be to you. You identified need versus wants, and I just would like to hear more about what a need would be for you in our community.
2 minutes.
Thank you for the question. To me, a need would be things like everyday services. Roads would be a perfect example. Right now, our roads are partially blamed by the warm up and then cool off again, but our roads are in a terrible state of repair right now. I want to focus on many levels of government here. I've made a promise of bringing a aging in place to the seniors of our community. The land has been handed over to an arm of the municipality, and they seem to be making a decision. It's going to the public now, and hopefully the public recommendations will be thought of when the time comes, but those would be considered needs to me. Wants would be things like downtown arena, development along the river, high-rises on the river, launches for yacht club type scenario. To me, those are all wants and a bit of a dream, and they're not reflective of more of the community. Needs would be dredging of the Snide and beachfront and better access for people in the community who wish to enjoy their time on the river. We are a northern community, and we do, like most people do, like to focus on sports recreation. We're made a good suggestion. Parking at downtown is not very good right now. In fact, an area that could be used for parking right now is about weeds that are growing higher than the fence. Parking at Mac Island, absolutely. We built all of our resources on an island with limited access to and from it. Beautiful spot, great place. Enjoy my time there. But access is limited, and parking is absolutely limited.
Colleen, your second question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, my second question.
Just speak to the mic, please.
My second question would be to Veronica. You identified the strain home businesses are putting up infrastructure, and you identified that land release would help alleviate that. My concern is when I'm door knocking right now, I see a lot of for rent signs, and I see a lot of for sale signs, and I see a lot of empty houses, and I have people that I know that are struggling to sell their homes, and they're worried about what's going to happen with that. So how would you balance land release with maintaining home values?
I'm Veronica. To me, land release isn't just about residential space, and I think that's been a big focus in Fort McMurray recently, and we need to focus more on the commercial space. And that would be the area I would really be focusing on, is opening it up for commercial areas. And I think a big part of this is that the city should not be subsidizing business. We shouldn't be paying businesses to build here so that we can pay for the services. I don't think that's right. I don't think that that's what tax-paying dollars should go towards. We shouldn't be paying businesses to be successful here. If we open up the land and give them the opportunity, if they have a sound business plan, they should be able to do that. The issue I see with the home businesses is that, like I said, some of them are actually small businesses that are being forced to operate out of their homes. They're not actually choosing to, it's just that's the only viable option for them right now because there isn't the commercial space available. So what I would like to see is giving those places opportunities where it's not just, oh my gosh, an office space opened up. It's actually that, oh my goodness, I can choose. Looking at my business plan, my demographic is in Timberlake. That's where I want to build my business. Or Parsons Creek development, rather than just whatever's available, that's what they have to go with, and it might not be affordable. We want different sizes available based on what the developers plan. So basically just opening up that space so that they're giving the freedom to be free enterprise businesses, which is what we want healthy in Fort McMurray.
Thank you very much.
My first question will actually go to Colleen. I've been writing about fly-in, fly-out for 9 years. It's such a huge, complicated issue, but one specific question would be, how would you replace that tax revenue that would be lost from the company's projects if we terminated the fly-in, fly-out?
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, I don't believe that we would be losing tax revenue because we still at the end of the day require the same amount of employees. So fly-in, fly-out is a band-aid approach to a long-term problem of not having enough trained and skilled workers within Alberta or even within Canada itself. So the oil companies, industry had to make decisions, and I can't fault them for that. They absolutely needed workers. And in construction phase, you need more workers than in production phase. So can we take fly-in, fly-out off the table? No, probably not 100%. But we can work with industry, and we can work with post-secondary, and we can work with programs like the RAP program and careers to get trained apprentices so that we have a workforce that is ready, willing, and able to fill the gaps that we have, whether that's in industry or small businesses like myself. There is a labor shortage. So we can't deny that, but we can have a conversation right now about the strain fly-in, fly-out has put on our infrastructure. Our hospital has to service these folks, but they don't get funding for them, unfortunately, because funding is based on population, and our population is a debatable number. So how can we work with them now is a good time to have a conversation about the increase in expenses it has put on industry, and how can we work over 5, 10, 15, 20 years to reduce that need and create a long-term solution so that this community, this province can have the workers ready and able close to home that can live here, support industry, and not have people flying in, flying out. It's a horrible strain on families. It's not a long-term solution for people to have their husband working away for 12 days straight. It isn't a healthy long-term solution. So right now, I think it's a good time to work in partnership and really try and hash out some long-term solutions.
Thank you. Oh, you were on time again. Your second question, please.
Yeah.
My second question, I guess, would be to Veronica. You mentioned some of the issues that you had mentioned. I'm kind of confused if you meant municipally or provincially as far as seniors care and land release. So if you could kind of clarify that some on what your position is on those things.
Thank you.
You're right in that seniors care is actually more of a provincial issue, but I think in Fort McMurray it's become, with the land being handed over to Wood Buffalo Housing and Development Corporation, it's become kind of a municipal issue. I don't necessarily agree with that. I believe that municipalities should be focused on the basic needs, which is sewage and water, roads, as Chris mentioned, that kind of thing. And that might be some of our issues, is that we're trying to take on some of provincial responsibilities and not holding them accountable to what they're supposed to be providing for our residents. As far as land release, there are things like we need to purchase the land from the agreement. Sorry, I'm just trying to think of the word I'm looking for. But there are areas where the land has to actually be purchased, but we do have other areas where we can be expanding business. And I think that's just part of what the city should be looking at, especially in this time where we don't have a lot of construction going on. Let's see if we can open up some of those lands so that those companies that are kind of looking at what are we doing right now, we have an opportunity to make this land viable to developers and expanding. Because I know Fort McMurray, we have a lot of families that are still here. There have unfortunately been people that have been laid off, but we have a lot of people staying here for the long term, and we need to continue moving forward with our developments. Otherwise, the infrastructure is going to fall behind again when there is another pickup, and that's something we can't afford to have happen right now.
Thank you. Mr. Douglas, if you can Ask a question to whichever candidate, please.
My first question is to Colleen. You have already got a chance to be on the council, and you tried your luck for 2 years. And mostly incompetents get more chances of getting through. What are the things that you couldn't do according to the public perception that didn't get you back to the council?
I'm not sure that I quite understand the question, but I think I will do my best to answer you. So I did serve on council before for about a year and a half, and I was very grateful to do so. And actually, sitting on the outside, you think you know a job, and then when you get in there, it's certainly different, and you have a lot to learn. And definitely, I learned a lot. And I feel like after a year and a half, I was really ready to sink my teeth into moving the city and the municipality forward. Unfortunately, there was a lot of issues at the time, and there still is a lot of issues going forward with our community. We're facing some big decisions, some important decisions, and I feel like my experience on council has given me the ability to be ready for this by-election and be job ready day one. So I hope that the work that I'm putting into this election campaign will pay off, and I've had a great response from community members, and I really appreciate it, and I will be honored to serve the community again.
Thank you. Mohammed, if you give your second question, I'll appreciate that.
My second question is to Veronica. My daughter is a school teacher, and she is also a school teacher. School teacher is a highly respectable job in this community, and very, very busy job. Extremely, they are very busy. Would you be able to justice with another appointment as a councillor? It is almost a full-time job according to my perception. Could you put a light on it, please?
Thank you very much for the question, and thank you. I do believe teaching is a fantastic career. I actually got asked this question by some grade 6 students at the Islamic school. They submitted questions for Ask Veronica, and I do have that as a response to my video, so I thank those students from 6K for the question. And teaching is a big job. There are a lot of expectations and responsibilities outside of your general work hours, but luckily I have a great collective agreement, and it is actually written into the collective agreement that I can be given time for municipal responsibilities when I'm on council. And we already have, you can see with Sheldon Germain and Phil Marr, they are both in the education area. For myself, I am a great person. I have great skills in time management, so volunteer opportunities. I balance being the president of the Boys and Girls Club for 5 years while being a post-secondary student, while working, and then while teaching full-time as well, and I view this as the same kind of responsibilities. Personally, I'm a really fast reader. I enjoy financial documents, which is embarrassing to admit, but I like reading that kind of thing. I love policies and procedures, so reading those, making suggestions on how to improve them is something I'm passionate about. So I really think that being a teacher doesn't mean I can't do anything else. I am a teacher 24/7, I would be a counselor 24/7, I am a volunteer 24/7. If you need me, I will be there.
Great.
Thank you.
Save me some walking. This is the last question.
Thank you.
Two questions.
Okay.
Your first question is to do.
Question for Colleen. So I'd like to know what you think you've learned about expropriation and things like Nexus North, because those were both things that when you were on council you voted in favour for. So I'd like to know if there are things you do differently or justification for those decisions at the time.
Thanks, Veronica. Certainly, as I said, I've learned a lot, and I voted with my heart and the information that I had presented in front of me. Unfortunately, the information through the audit process and other information that's come forward after that has given us a different perspective on that. But when you're sitting at the table, you go into it with an open mind, You listen to the presentations that are made from the public. You listen to the presentations that are made from administration, and you make a decision based on the facts that you have. If I could go back in time, I would go back in time to about 1999 and I would buy about 10 houses. But hindsight is 2020. You have to make decisions based on the information you have given at the time, and you have to hope that that information is based on truth, honesty, and facts, and you have to live with it. So I live with it, I see it, I drive by it every day, and I hope that we can move forward as a community to create a community that we all can really believe in, and I will continue to vote with my heart and the information that's presented in front of me.
Thank you. Your second question, please.
My question is for Verna. So you talked a lot about the importance of policies and procedures from the KPMG audit, and I'm just wondering what experience you have with that and what you would bring to the table as far as writing those, being giving constructive criticism to how they're written and how you could improve that.
We got to improve too.
Thanks, Veronica. Administration really is going to be overlooking implementing these recommendations, but council has to be there to really be plugged in and let the public know how they're implementing these recommendations as well. As far as my experience with those things on various boards and stuff, we've worked with all kinds of implications over the years, provincially, federally, and municipally for our boards, especially regarding our budgets, which are constantly changing and in work. And these recommendations, some of them are very straightforward. I mean, one of the ones that immediately was changed was that the mayor can no longer approve her own expense accounts, which seems pretty basic to everybody else, but when those policies and procedures are not put in place, then things can be taken advantage of. And let's face it, we had a cloud over our city the last number of years after Mr. Rubenstein had vacated his position, and we kind of have to shake that off, and the only way that we're going to do it is being truthful with the public. And a number of years ago, there was an audit done, and none of the recommendations were followed up on, and it left us in a total mess again. I'd be so disappointed in 2.5 years' time if we didn't implement these recommendations, and then we just continue to have a downtown that looks like crap and infrastructure that's not available north of the bridge. So I'd definitely be working with administration and my fellow councillors and the mayor to look at all those recommendations.
Thank you. We seem to have a bit of unbalance here, so only 4 people are constantly speaking, so short chance to speak, please, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll go with Dover. Genuinely interested to hear how you wish to help the minorities integrate and feel more welcome in our community. I'll say that.
Thank you very much. I am one of the part of the minorities. So I know about myself. In the same way I can tell how can I help. Whenever somebody lands here, they have to be given proper guidelines, some officers to be made, to get a job, to get accommodation. And thereafter, after getting them jobs, accommodations, they have to be continuously pursued to be part of the mainstream, to be a portion of the participants of the functions like Canada Day. Remember, it's not there, but we have to be little more, put more input, more efforts to come up to the level. One of my son, Heather Ali, he got 6 medals out of 7 in Kiana College. If there had been discrimination, he would have not got it. But we have to feel convinced that we have to put in more input. We have to tell these people to our minority peoples. And
continuously interaction
Thank
with
you.
I come here on Wednesdays.
Thank you.
Meet
Thank
the
you.
seniors. We share love and affection with them. Thank you very much.
Chris, your second question, please, and to who?
I'll ask Michael, just so everyone gets a chance at this.
Thank you for saving me walk.
So, Michael, what's your vision for the downtown core?
Well, that's a good question, Chris. You know, there's a lot of talk about the downtown arena. Well, for legal reasons, that's almost a foregone conclusion. It pretty much has to happen at this stage of games. So anyone telling you otherwise, probably not following the bouncing balls. There's already lawyers lining up. That downtown arena is part of a catalyst project, whether we like it or not. There is another project downtown, not that far away, called Golden Buffalo. That's a group from Vancouver that's looking at building a pretty major structure off of Hardin. Well, that building, in order for it to go ahead, needs that arena. Those two pieces of the puzzle starts a revitalization of our downtown. We may not like how we've gotten here, but that's sort of where we're at. Since I've been here since 1997, I've seen 5 NDPs come through municipal development plans, and not one has started. We've wasted millions and millions and millions of dollars doing these studies and not achieving a single thing. We've already spent millions of dollars on this last one. It was a big fiasco. However, there was some good work done in that process and some good ideas that came about. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I think we need to have these projects go in order to finally start our downtown revitalization and become the city in the future what we need. That infrastructure is key to making the downtown have that kickstart it needs. That's what I think, Chris.
Thank you,
Well,
Chris.
your turn to ask questions.
Thank you. Mike, so what is your first question too, and what is the question?
You know, it's tough to ask questions because you feel like you're attacking your opponents, and you certainly, that's not the intention, because I believe all of us are here for the right reasons. So I was a little shocked by this format, but I will continue.
Thank you, I appreciate that, because we need to ask each other to clarify points, so that's why we have it.
Good. I was hoping our audience would actually have
they have chance right after this. The audience will have the chance to ask any person.
So shut up and get on with the
No,
questions.
so,
We asked you individually if you all agree, then that's what you
No,
want.
that's fine. I understand. Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
So,
thanks for tramping on my toes. I really appreciate that. Close dance is difficult with you, so please.
no problem. I'm going to ask Monte the first question, I guess. Monte, as the general manager of ATCO, you're involved with an awful lot of infrastructure that the municipality uses in any of its new developments. But you would have to recuse yourself in almost any situation dealing with that infrastructure. So my question to you is how would you be able to help and deal with the budgeting process as it goes through without having that conflict of interest?
It's easy my way to quit. I've been there 30 years, no I wouldn't. Actually, I did ask permission of my president and ATCO group whether there'd be a conflict of interest in regards to rent for council. We had several members of council throughout the several communities that ATCO gas serves, from Fort McLeod to Fort McMurray. We have communities that have councillors on them, and we have franchise agreements with each and every one. There is the conflict in regards to making decisions. I think I would be better suited to make those decisions into what works as far as infrastructure and development areas and how to speed up the process. And my input would be of any help. The only one that may be a conflict at the time would be during the franchise agreement, which I would approve myself from, which isn't due till 2018 after this term.
Second
Second question, please.
Thank you. It must be pick on Colleen Day.
She can handle it, really.
She can?
She's tough, yeah.
She being Verna's got the t-shirt. So, Colleen, you mentioned in your opening speech about affordable retail. So, I guess what I would like to know is how do you go about to create that? I know the municipality has looked at incubators. Land is off the table, and from what I understand from that. And so how do we create that? How do we do that without subsidizing business, as Veronica mentioned earlier, without using taxpayers' money?
Thanks. Well, I'm a small business owner, so when we first started our business 11 years ago, our rent was $2,500, and there was times when we could hardly pay the rent then. And our rent is $25,000 a month now, as well as my employee expenditure every month has gone higher and higher. So, as much as we don't want to subsidize business, there is a benefit to the RMWB encouraging business and creating a climate for it to thrive and grow. And I don't believe that we have that right now. And there is a benefit to the community for the RMWB to create that climate, because then we, the citizens of the community, have access to retail that we so desperately want. So what does that look like? That looks like changing some attitudes within permitting, first of all. When you go to try and get a permit for a fence right now, it's pretty painful. Imagine now you're a business and you want to open a coffee shop downtown, and you know, you're not well versed in the ins and outs of it, so you call permitting. You get a no, you get a no response, maybe you're waiting for weeks. How can we make that process more give and take so that the RMWB can foster that relationship within business? When we moved our business, we had calls to find out, do we have to get a change of use permit? No, you don't. So then we bought the building, we moved in, we got a phone call that said, hey, you didn't apply for a change of use. Nope, we didn't, because we phoned and asked if we had to, and we were told that we didn't. Well, you do. Imagine my terror, as I've already spent, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars invested into this building to move, and here we are at the same conversation again. So those sorts of accountability things have to change. We have to have a system to make sure that people that are phoning for permits are getting an answer. What's the response time? How do we improve that? Second of all, we have...
Thank you, Colleen. Sorry. I know you can carry on with that problem for another while.
Ask me again.
Thank you. I think, wow, almost every question was answered. I was going to ask Keith McGrath, how did this arena thing get all that sudden? It's like a given thing. I missed something along the way, but actually, Mike, my question is for you. In regards to the required skill set for operating a $1 billion budget, I'm responsible for a $1 million plus budget. I'm not too sure what that skill set would be for being responsible for a $1 billion budget. Can you expand on that?
Well, I can certainly try. I've never had any experience with a $1 billion budget. I don't believe anyone up here has. The skill sets I'm talking about is governance. You have to work within a system of governance, and you have to know how to work those channels. Remember that you're one voice in a group of 11. You have to persuade 5 other people that, through facts, hopefully, and through understanding what it is you're about to do. Once you get that, you have to understand that governance to also work with the different levels of government. You have to be able to work with the provincial government. You have to be able to work with the federal government. That comes down to governance and how well you understand it. As far as making the decisions goes, you have to ask the why questions. A lot of times when we sit around, we don't hear the why questions. Why are we doing this? Administration prepares packages, and they will give it to the councillors as a package. And you do your read, and you try to ask questions, or hopefully you ask questions. And then they discuss it behind closed doors. If you don't see the information you have, you ask questions. This is the same for a small business or a large business. You're setting priorities. To me, Managing that comes down to understanding the community, what our community needs are now, and what they are in the future. Because the decisions being made on the capital side of things are going to be affecting the next 3 to 4 generations minimum. We are now in the process of shaping our community, and it needs to be done responsibly, and we're going to do that hopefully through governance.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, I think. My next question, I guess, is Veronica. I know you're a great person, as you told us. My question is in regards to your comments for home businesses. My wife has a home business as well, and the exact words you used was strain on the infrastructure. Could you explain that one a little bit for me, please?
Sorry. Are you tired?
My name is Veronica. So basically the conversations I've been having with people is that they're seeing a lot of parking spots being taken up that shouldn't be and that kind of thing. And that can also go with rental properties as well. But that's what I mean by strain on infrastructure. Also, like if you're trying to have a business where, let's say you're a consignment store, and it would work better for you if you actually had a business space, but unfortunately it's not available to you. You're going to have people coming and visiting your business quite often, and that can be disruptive to the neighbors. And sometimes people have started businesses. What Colleen referred to is actually a very common problem, is that depending on who you talk to in the permits office, you might be approved for something, and then down the road, you're met after you've invested, you're told you're no longer allowed to operate that business. I've heard that happening to people before, which is very unfortunate because a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into starting up these businesses, and then to just have to shut down is very unfortunate and disappointing for sure. But that's my big thing, is that there's certain businesses that don't need to be operating out of a home, and if we have the proper available space in Fort McMurray, they wouldn't need to do that. And I think there's a fantastic art supply shop, and I don't know, I think that would be such a better thing to have in a space rather than her operating it out of her home where currently that's what she has to do. I think it would be so much better for all of those organizations to have a spot where they can call their own and it represents their business, and that's what I would like to see.